City or shit. Welcome back, everybody. This is United versus everybody. I am your host, Sean. We are back today. Just like United's fixtures, the live streams are coming thick and fast. Barely any time to prep and anything else, whatnot. Thankfully, I was able to shake things up a little bit last night with a transfer video. If you guys haven't watched that, go ahead and do that. It wasn't super serious. Just looked at, maybe selling Marcus Rashford and how we could maybe allocate the funds from that sale. Do we get a like for like? Do we look at other positions? Go check that out. A little bit of fun. Speaking of fun, though, we can all take a moment to laugh our asses off at City. They're so shit. Literally over 200 million for Grealish and Gavardio. Gavardio at fault again for another goal. Grealish again just shit. Almost conceded another one because of a poor pass from him. Like, they're on this, they have the same amount of losses as we do now. We're not that far behind them. And again, I told you, what did I tell you, like, after the derby? When Haaland doesn't get the ball, City can't do anything. And Haaland just isn't one of those strikers. He is more of a traditional 9 where he needs service. He can't create for himself. And again, he had the fewest amount of touches of anybody on the pitch for 90 minutes today. And again, City lose. It's not a coincidence. But we are back today not to talk about City. We can laugh a little bit at City. Just insert Thierry Henry meme here. But we're here to do a match preview of this weekend's Bournemouth match. United host Bournemouth tomorrow. We are here to preview that match. So we're going to dive right in. Danny, jumping in. Welcome, my friend. How are you? He says, just heard on another channel we might hijack the Chelsea deal for Paez. Any truth? I haven't seen, as far as I know, Chelsea have already signed him. He just can't join them until he's 18, I believe. So he's technically a Chelsea player, I believe. I haven't seen anything. I mean, you can jump on Google real quick and just Google Kendry Paez Manchester United, see what pops up. I know we were interested in him, but I'm pretty sure Chelsea have already got him pretty much signed. Similar to like what we just did with Diego Leon, because Paez is too young. But if I remember correctly, Paez is a little bit of a party animal. So I'm not sure if we want another one of those kind of players around. I guess he's been disciplined a few times already, but and Danny also jumping in. Reports say United still interested in Franco Mastantuono, but Amorim feels he needs more time. Where he is, we will buy him and maybe leave him at River for another year. Wouldn't be the worst idea, Danny. I mean, and I've said a couple times we should have done that with Nipan in the summer. We should have signed him, let him spend the rest of the season with Rosenborg. Rosenborg's season was done, at the beginning of December. But it's just we don't see those kind of deals at United a lot, and I'd like to see more of that, a little bit more creativity. United, we stand. Big up, May. Thank you for stopping by. Good to see you. Appreciate everybody stopping by this morning. Don't forget to hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We are doing the Bournemouth preview today. Bournemouth are flying right now. United have been a little inconsistent, but at least there are signs of progress, right? So we're going to look at the teams today. We're going to look at form. We're going to look at team news, tactics. I want your starting 11. I want your score predictions. As always, though, we are going to kick off with a little of transfer news. Danny said the channel said Chelsea might have to scrub the deal. What channel was it? I have to go back and watch that because I could just Google it and I haven't seen anything. I just haven't heard anything about Kendry Paez. As far as I know, he was a Chelsea player basically when he becomes 18. So I also put a little bit of a poll in the chat as well. You guys can go ahead and keep filling that out if you want. I want your opinions on whether or not Rashford or Garnacho should maybe get a spot in the starting 11 tomorrow. So you guys let me know how you feel about that. Let's dive into a little bit of transfer news and then we'll dive into the match, all right? So we spoke a lot last night in that video on how to maybe replace Marcus Rashford, or maybe more accurately, how to use those funds, right? Because we talked about like for likes, we talked about number 10s, left backs. Go ahead and watch that video. But there's also a chance United could be signing a number 10 that we haven't discussed yet. It's a number 10 that I've looked at, but it's not one we've discussed. So this is coming from Fichajes. Apparently, United are now willing to launch an offer of £33 million to land Real Sociedad midfielder Lukas Sucic, Croatian, 22-year-old. He's born in Austria, but he represents Croatia. Really good attacking midfielder. I really like Sucic a lot. I liked him when he was at Salzburg. Really good worker on and off the ball. Top 5% for successful take-ons. Top 10% for shot-creating actions. Very good midfielder. I like the way he plays. I like his work rate, his on and off the ball work. Sociedad can be a little bit stubborn, though, when it comes to their players. We've seen what's happened with Martin Zubamendi. But a tempting offer for Sucic might put Sociedad in a better financial position when they don't have to sell, especially because Zubamendi keeps getting attention from other clubs. They did just sell Mikel Merino, though, so they really don't need to sell anybody else. And Sucic did just join them. But the report says that the figure that United would offer for him would be difficult for Sociedad to turn down. So they just signed him for like £8.5 million in the summer. So they're going to make profit either way. But you guys, if you guys have been watching any Sociedad, maybe you were following Salzburg for a little bit, let me know what you think. I really like this guy. But we'll see. Goals for George. Welcome, my friend. How are you? Nipan is better than Mastantuono. He's already your sentence cut off. I think, and I've said this a couple times now, I think there are a few reasons that if I had to choose right now, I would choose probably Nipan over Mastantuono. I think cost, and Nipan has far more first-team experience. He's played for Rosenborg starting 11 a lot. He's basically a mainstay. His numbers are really good too. That being said, Mastantuono does seem to be the one that people think has a higher potential, higher ceiling. So could go either way. Nipan could come in and probably get a spot in and around the matchday squad, maybe even in the starting 11 before the season ends. Mastantuono, I'm not sure yet. We'll see though. Benny says Saul at Stretford Post. Yeah, I have to go check it out, man. I just haven't seen anything, but you let me know. Box, welcome. How are you, my friend? Box already getting the starting 11 predictions in. He wants Onana, Antony, so he's going with Antony. Euro, Delit, Maguire, Mazraoui, Ugarte, Manu, Fernandez, Ahmad, Hoyland. Yeah, your front three looks very similar to mine. I'm gonna throw up mine towards the end. We're just going through some transfer news at the moment. Danny says he agrees with Nipan, more experience, better off the ball. Yeah, I think that Nipan can come in. He could play maybe even in the pivot as well as just behind the striker. I think he's got that versatility. He's very, very, very good on the ball. Very good at dribbling. Goals for George says United says shell Rashford to Barcelona for an $8 million loan fee and an obligation to buy for 40. Barcelona are still trying to make sure they can register Dani Olmo. Their deadline. So Barcelona got around a lot of their issues with their wages by basically going to the Spanish courts and saying these injured players can't be registered. Therefore, we should be allowed to register guys like Dani Olmo, which they did, but that allowance was extended only till the end of this month, and it expires in the new year. So Barcelona are going to go back and appeal, which they're probably going to win because they've already won those cases in the past. So I don't think Barcelona can sign anybody personally, because not anybody new. They've got to handle their shit with some of these players before they can start bringing in new players. Plus, do they really need Marcus Rashford now? Yamal is a beast. Rafinha's having a really good season. I think if Marcus Rashford wanted to go to Spain, I think Atletico is probably his best bet at the moment. Box says Leon and Nipan will be good start to transfers. If we get Leon and Nipan, I would really like that in January. The question is, would either of them come in and maybe push for a spot in the first team right away? We've also been linked, though, as we're talking about Diego Leon, we've been linked to another player in the South American leagues. So this is coming from Graham Bailey. He's reported that United have been scouting Vélez Sarsfield's central midfielder Christian Ordóñez. Danny B, let me know if you think this guy's good. Danny B is the South American scout for all of you guys who might not be familiar. Bailey says United reps plan to continue scouting Ordóñez over the coming months with a view for a future move. He's 20. He made his debut for Vélez at 18. He's played almost 70 first-team appearances now. He's got 1 goal, 6 assists from midfield, so he's good kind of defensive midfielder, box-to-box. He can kind of play in that pivot role pretty well. Combative, excellent on the tackle, excellent block and aerial duel numbers. He's got really good progressive pass receive numbers, so he gets high up the pitch and receives the ball in advanced positions. Really good carry numbers, really good take-on numbers, really good percentiles for touches in the box. So it sounds like from a numbers standpoint, the kid is good. And if he's good enough to already make his debut in the first team at 18 and get 70 appearances for them by the time he's 20, sounds like he's a promising young player. But Danny B, if you're familiar with Christian Ordóñez, let us all know in the chat. Does he get the Danny B seal of approval? Let us know. Goals for George. I had to check my browser twice when I heard Frankie de Jong was on 700K weekly. His agent must win an award. Um, so here's the thing with Frankie de Jong's numbers. He's on 700K, yes and no. That's not his base salary. It's his base salary is less, but he's getting that now because his salary was deferred. So it's taking the deferred salary and it's adding on. But Barcelona are just so dumb over the last 6, 7, 8, 9 years when it comes to just what they pay for players. You shouldn't. You're Barcelona. Like, let's be honest. You shouldn't have to offer that much wages for players to want to come play for you. It just shouldn't have. You shouldn't have to do it. And that is what's caused them a lot of problems. The problem, too, was Messi was on literally over $1 million a week in wages for the longest times. That was just Messi's wages. That really, really hurt them. But you shouldn't have to offer players that much money. They're going to want to come to you like you're Barcelona. These days, you've kind of shot yourself in the foot, just similar to how United were for a while. But Danny likes him. He gets Danny's seal of approval. He likes him, similar to Eki Fernandez. Good deal, man. Well, hopefully we can keep scouting. It sounds like, and I said this before I started the channel, I was talking about this a lot. The South American market is blowing up, and I'm really happy to see that we're exploring it more and more. We're scouting and we're identifying a lot of these young South American players, and I think that's the market that is ripe right now. You see guys like Caicedo, Julian Alvarez, Valentin Barco, a lot of these guys coming through, and we look really good. And we're already scouting a couple of them, so I really like it. Look at these teams: Independiente, River Plate, all these teams, and you're going to find some really good players. Box says Nico Paz looks good, but I'd expect Real Madrid to activate the buyback clause. Yeah, Real Madrid. Who knows what Real Madrid? I saw they were linked with, I think this guy Vitor Rice, I think is his name, at Palmeiras. Danny B says they have a young center back too at Vélez, very good. There's a lot of really good South American players coming through. Box says Coutinho, Dembele, Griezmann deals screwed them financially. Yeah, the Griezmann one was a shit show. Atletico Madrid actually won out pretty well on that one, and that's why getting someone like Andrea Berta, who it looks like he could be leaving at the end of the month, and it's rumored that we're looking at him for our new sporting director. That could be a financial, like a really good, shrewd piece of business, because it sounds like he's really good at getting those deals over the line and making it more financially beneficial for his club. Danny says, Thiago Fernandez played for Vélez too. Excellent young winger. Just got injured. Yeah, I saw that we were also scouting him as well, but he did pick up an ACL injury. It's going to rule him out for a while. But yeah, we were linked in him for a little while as well. So moving on to a couple bit of transfer news before we dive into the match, because I want to make sure I get through these things. There have been reports this week that United could be set to trigger the 1-year extension on Harry Maguire's contract after he has reportedly impressed Ruben Amorim. According to Laurie Whitwell, he wrote a piece for the Times today, United are currently in negotiations with Maguire, but if they don't figure this out before January, the decision could be taken out of our hands, and it's going to be entirely in Maguire's hands, because he'll be free to talk to other clubs about a free transfer in the summer come January. Obviously, that Bosman rule, he's free to do whatever he wants. United won't be able to have a say in that. Whitwell adds that Napoli and Galatasaray are interested, so maybe a reunion with McTominay at Napoli. What do you guys think on Maguire? Should we keep him? We could lose him, Lindelof, and Evans in the summer. That's 3 center backs that we've got to replace, because that leaves us literally with only 3 center backs. We would need to bring in at least 2, in my opinion, if not 3, whether that's promoting someone from the youth who's a little better. Kukonki's been in and around the first team. There are a couple of free options out there. Like, if we lock up Yarrick and Bushali on free transfers in the summer, Yarrick's young, Bushali's like 27, PSV, left-sided center back. He was part of a scouting video I did a few weeks back. Go ahead and watch that. That could be a really good shrewd piece of business. We could lock up the center back position for peanuts, basically, if we can get some of those. Those are the kind of deals we should be looking at right now, because it handles it now, and then you can maybe start planning. It gives you a little breathing room. Goals for George says, I'm sure Frankie de Jong was not on more than 50K at Ajax. That jump was unreal, and no wonder Anthony got his deal. Yeah, there's no need to offer. There was no need to literally give Anthony 10 times as much as he was on at Ajax. There was literally no need for that whatsoever. Anthony, he went from 20K to 200K. We should have given him maybe 75K to come to United at the time, because, again, it's easy to look back in hindsight and say it was not worth it, but you have to look at the information you had at the time. And at the time, Anthony was one of the better wingers in the Eredivisie. He was very good. It just hasn't translated. It is. Tiago. Oh, Danny says Fernandez got good numbers this season. Good deal, man. Good. Awesome. I like it. Box would offer Maguire a 3-year deal on reduced terms. I mean, it pretty much keeps Maguire here until he's done, basically. He's done well, I think, against certain opposition. Maguire can do a job. He handled Erling Haaland in the derby. I posted that photo of him. I'm going to start calling Maguire the humbler from now on. Box, he'd be good experience in the squad with Evans, Lindelof, Eriksen, Casemiro, all possibly leaving. Yeah, I think that, and I've said it before, of the 3 center backs we could be losing for free, Maguire is probably the one that I would keep, just because I think he's better than Lindelof in terms of equipped for the league. Younger than Evans. Obviously, Evans has been good, but you can't bank on Evans for a while. So, and goals for George agrees. Maguire on 2 years deal on 170K should be fair. Yeah, I have no problem keeping Maguire. He does just fine. It looks like he wants to play. He's happy with his role. I mean, obviously he'll want to be starting, but he's not going to happen. But that's it for the transfer news. Let's jump into this match preview. Please like the video if you haven't yet. Please subscribe if you are new, because we have to talk about Bournemouth and United, because Bournemouth are on a tear this year. They're doing great under Iriola. They did really good summer business. I think Evan Nielsen he came from Porto. He's one of the better strikers. He's just a striker. He's just a number 9. He just pops up in the right place. He knows where to be. He's just very good. They currently sit 6th in the league table. They're on 25 points, but a win tomorrow would put us above them because of goal differential. We would be tied on points, but we would be above them if we won, because that's just the way it is right now, the GD. They have 3 wins, 1 loss, and a draw in their last 5. Their last match was against West Ham, and it was a 1-1 draw. So they might be looking to bounce back from that. They play with a lot of intensity, a lot of energy, a lot of pace. They cover every blade of grass. Those players fight. They're near the top of the list when it comes to total distance covered per match. They are just runners, straight up runners. They are fitness monsters. Not a good look for us, since all it takes, quite frankly, to beat us is just a bit of energy and physicality to get a result. We just don't have the fight. We're doing a little better, but we need to do a lot better than what we have been doing as far as that goes. Bournemouth are also near the top when it comes to high presses and shots resulting from winning the ball high up the pitch. So, again, we got to move the ball quicker. We got to see those passes. We have to play a lot more vertical passes. I know we like to invite the press into our corners. We're going to have to make sure if we do that we have players that are good on the ball. So Dallo might not be the best option. As Amorim pointed out after our loss to Spurs, we didn't move the ball well enough near our own box. We were guilty of losing possession there too much. That can't happen tomorrow, because Bournemouth will punish us for it if we give them those kind of opportunities. Enes Unal is coming into a bit of form. He's got goals in his last 2 matches. Kluivert seems to be involved in literally everything Bournemouth do in the opposition half. He's all over the place. He's kind of like a little Odegaard, just creating it from everywhere. Then you have the real danger guys, the Semenyo and Ouattara. They are a handful. Especially when Kirkes does get up forward a bit on the left to kind of double up on their left side and put numbers in the box. It's all about these players getting forward, though. That's also, while that's their strength, that's also Bournemouth's potential weakness, because they flood a lot of numbers and it leaves them a little exposed in the back. But that's why they try to win the ball back so quickly in the opposition half, so they don't leave themselves exposed. So if we move the ball quick, we see the runners, we get the ball forward, we can maybe exploit that. Now, compared to how they played under Gary O'Neill, Bournemouth, if you look at their average position, it's a lot higher. Again, they leave space in behind. They play a little higher. They want to play a little high intense. Again, we can exploit that with pace, with good vertical passing, and good switches of play, similar like what we did at City, like we did against Spurs. Again, we want to watch Evan Nielsen. He is dangerous. We need to match the work rate of Lewis Cook. Lewis Cook is a fighter in their midfield. He runs the show. He's not like super creative, but he will fight for everything. He's like a little John McGinn in midfield. They also like quick transitions. They have one of the quickest attacks in the league, according to Opta. So hopefully Amorim has had enough time to get us to better transition to defense. Remember that first training video when he was here? It was all about you lost the ball, get back in defense. That's what we're going to have to be prepared for because they won't let us have a moment to breathe. Bach says, I'm liking the new wage structure, reported wages, Onana. Yeah, I like the new wages. It is a little bit more realistic and representative of what we should be doing. I'd rather get players coming, and this is why we're targeting players on their first or second contract, so we're not automatically giving them those wages and we're forcing them to earn those wages, kind of a deal. But we need to maybe be a little better trying to have a little bit of foresight and maybe take like Rashford's case, maybe take more than the current season to decide if a player is worth $300K a week, because we want to see it sustainable. We want these players to stay hungry and stay motivated, because money can't be the motivator, right? It needs to be something more. It needs to be more intrinsic. So Bournemouth, energy, intensity, high press, quick transitions. We need to watch out for that, but they do leave space in behind. So Ruben Amorim has given us some insight on what we can expect. So Mason Mount's going to be out for a while. If you guys haven't seen Mount, Amorim was asked about it, and he said he's going to be out several weeks. I don't know the exact date, but it's going to be for a long time. That's not my department. What I can do is help Mount, teach him how to play our game. When he's recovering, try to use that time for him to think about different things. The worst part is that we don't have time to train like we should do when you're recovering from a lot of injuries. So no Mount again for a while. He went off pretty early the other day against City in the Derby, and sounds like he's going to be out for a while. I can't remember the last time I've seen Mount complete a full 90. It might have been at Chelsea. I don't know. Mount did pen a little bit of a message to United fans on social media saying, words can't portray how devastated I'm feeling right now. You could probably see the look on my face when it happened. I knew what it meant. United fans, you may not know me too well yet, but one thing I can guarantee, I will never give up or lose faith. I've said this before, but I will continue to give everything, get through this tough period, and won't stop until that's achieved. Honestly, God, just cut the contract up. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just like, there's no point. Cut it up, take the loss. He'll get the rest of his wages, so it's not like we're sweeping him out from the rug. Just cut the contract, let it go, move forward. Same with Luke Shaw. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm trying really hard not to be mean, not to be heartless when it comes to injuries, because it's not the player's fault, but at the same time, it's such a shit situation that we're in that these players just can't stay fit. Like, where was the medical staff on this? Why did nobody pick this up? Because Mount had some issues at Chelsea, and if I can spend 5 minutes online and see a long-term correlation between the nature of Mount's injuries at Chelsea and the long-term prognosis for fitness, how can our licensed, trained, professional medical staff? Now, I've said it before. It's Dr. Dre, Dr. Pepper, Dr. Seuss chilling in the physio room at United. These guys aren't fit for purpose. They're the worst medical staff I've ever seen in my life. When players like Casemiro have to go get second opinions and literally get away from our medical staff to find some fitness, that's a fucking sad indictment of where we're at right now as a club. Lissandro Martinez, misdiagnosis, not fully healed because we missed some stuff on x-rays, and we lost him again for a long term because his foot wasn't fully injured at the beginning of last year. This can't happen. This literally can't happen. That needs to be one of the top priorities, is replacing this fucking medical staff, man. Darkro says, is it time Amorim plays his full list? We'll see. Yeah. And Danny agrees, man. And not trying, it's hard to say this stuff without sounding like I'm like being mean. I'm trying not to be mean. It's just the facts. It just is what it is. Bach says, a shame about Mount. Had potential to be a key player in the system, but his body is finished. Yeah, I just think it's just one of those things. I don't think he's ever going to get fit. It just is what it is. Mount will probably be playing for like Everton or Luton Town or something in the next few years. And if not, he'll probably be doing like punditry or something, kind of like what Troy Deeney does now and then. I don't know. Slash is Snakes Bit. Welcome, man. Good to see you again. How have you been? Let us know in the chat. We're just kind of talking through the Bournemouth preview. We went through some transfer business already. So Amorim had some more things to say, talking about some team news. He said, I think we're improving near the opponent's box. We had some games that we were near the box, but without a real threat. I've said that plenty of times. We just keep passing it around. No one's really taking a chance. He said, I feel our team is faster. We're pressing more. The physicality is improving and understanding of the game. I agree and disagree. I think our physicality is improving, but it's it was in the negative, and it's getting back to neutral, and which is still not good enough. We against like Arsenal and Forest, those dual numbers were shit, and they've been getting better, which I praise the players for, especially against like City, but nowhere near where we need to be. He was asked about Anthony. He said Anthony needs more confidence. I will help him to be a better player. If you remember the Anthony at Ajax, right now he lacks a little confidence to go one-on-one. He will improve. He just has to do that, to work really hard. Yeah, Anthony lost a lot of that confidence. First couple games when he got to United, when he got to the Premier League, and saw that these players weren't afraid of him, that he wasn't just going to be able to do some trickery and get through, because it's really hard to excel in that if that's your only, you know, trait in this league. He kind of got a little shell shocked, and he's not quite recovered. He doesn't take on his players, and it's sad and it's frustrating, because when he does, Anthony tends to create something when he does do that, when he does get the ball forward, when he does even use his right foot. I think Anthony's done more for us with his right foot than he's done with his left, which is a bit ironic. Ruben was asked about a busy schedule. He said the hardest part is training. It's simple because you're rotating players. When you rotate players, it's really hard to work in every connection. So if you're always working with a different guy next to you, it's really hard to work on that connection. If I have more time, we will use it to train the team. Yeah, Ruben is basically, and I've been critical of this, the rotation, but he's basically forced to use the season because of the lack of time between matches, because he wasn't here for a preseason. He didn't get a preseason. He's basically having to use his early months as preseason, as training, which I agree with and I don't. I think that there are some matches where you can't afford to rotate a little more heavily, where you can't afford to experiment. But there's other matches where I'm like, you got to stick with your best players, and you just have to play them in their best positions. We can't afford to keep dropping points like this, especially in defense. I mean, I get it. The Spurs match was a little different. I think a lot of us probably would have prioritized tomorrow's match over the Carabao Cup. It is what it is. It's just, I'm not trying to dismiss the Carabao Cup. I value the trophies. It's just the circumstances. You have to take context into consideration, and that's the context of it right now. So aside from the Europa League, we just can't seem to string together a run of results. We've got 3 losses and 2 wins in all competitions in our last 5 matches, which is not a good look. Still, though, even though we're in 13th, we are just 3 points behind Bournemouth, and just 5 points now behind the noisy neighbors after that shit show from earlier. Good God almighty. City are so bad right now. Seriously, okay. Question, seriously, though. At what point do City really need to consider parting ways with Pep? It's not about he's a bad coach. It's just that it's not working anymore. Like, maybe that's just is what it is. Everybody has their day. The players aren't responding. Maybe it's time, just all the pieces are aligning. Maybe it's time we just start a rebuild with a different manager and a different way of playing now. Maybe we just start planning for the future. At what point does City really need to consider that? Because there's shit. There's really no other explanation for such a sharp, like, acute drop off. It's one thing to lose a couple like City have usually done in the first half of the season and then pick it back up. It's another to do this. There's something more to it than just the simple fitness or old players or whatever you want to call it. There's more to it like that, because it's not down to fitness. It's the players that are on the pitch. Players like Grealish, players like Gavardio, even the young players like Rico Lewis. Rico Lewis, I'm sorry, he's overrated. The kid is whinier than Bruno. He's so late in every tackle. Like, and City fans are going on him because it's like, aside from Foden, it's like the first player from their academy that they've ever promoted to the first team. But Darko says Ruben Amorim's rotation has cost us points in the league. I think that it doesn't help. It's hard to pinpoint what the cause of these results have been, but I don't think it's helped personally, especially in defense. But sometimes his hand is forced. It's just, I get what he's saying. It's hard when you don't have training and whatnot. And I always feel for managers when they don't get a preseason. That's why when you come in midseason, you do get a bit of a free hit. But at the same time, it doesn't take long. And there are people who've been at United who can tell you which players are working, which players aren't. You shouldn't have to rotate this heavily. Box says Mount's last full 90 in the Premier League was January 2023 Chelsea. That's fucking sad, man. That's literally almost 2 years ago. That's insane. Darko says, Sean, you were always pointing out to his too much rotation. You were right. I mean, again, I'll never say that it's the cause of it. All I've ever said, and thank you. I mean, to me, it's not a matter of right or wrong. To me, it's just my opinion. I don't like heavy rotation. he was rotating like 5, 6 players a match for his first couple matches, which I was critical of. Now, whether or not that was the cause, I couldn't tell you. I think it's hard, especially in defense, to get that kind of connection, that kind of familiarity, that kind of, you know, pattern down when you're rotating, especially when the new manager, especially with a new system. All these factors combined, I'm like, it might be too much at first, but whether or not it was a cause, I couldn't tell you. But yeah, thanks. Appreciate the vote of confidence there. Danny B says Amorim's way of exposing the deadwood. He needs to keep everyone happy. Can't blame him. Yeah, and I'm not blaming Amorim. I could be critical of the decision on the day, right? I'm not going to blame Amorim. As far as I'm concerned, so far he's doing everything right, especially with the way he's handling like Rashford and Garnacho. I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. He does a really good job with the press. I've said in my video last spring that Amorim doesn't criticize referees in public, and he reiterated that the other day after the Bayern Bergvall incident. But I like what I see. I need him to. What I need from Amorim is to find his core 11 and stick with that core 11 with minimal rotation throughout the season. I think some of these players can probably play more than they have been. I don't think we need to. Its fitness is as big of a deal as he was making it out to be. Personally, I think, but that's just the way it is. But he is exposing his system. I think just the nature of his system, the expectations that he has on the players are what's going to cause some players to stick out like sore thumbs, because some players just don't fit, whether it's the position that they play like Rashford or whether it's just their lack of ability on the ball in some situations like Dalot. I think it doesn't take long for these players to be exposed. And it's not that necessarily these players are poor. They're just poor fit to the system more often than not. And it is what it is, because Rashford can go someplace like Bayern, PSG, and probably do just fine. Box says, I think Amorim focuses to get respectable finish in the Premier League, about 6th, and win the Europa League. Yeah, let me see what you guys say in this vote real quick. So 60% of you say that Rashford and Garnacho should not start. I'm going to end the poll. I'm going to do another poll real quick while I'm thinking about it. Why not? Which team will finish higher in the table? United or City? Boom, have at it. So, we're 13th. We are just 3 points behind Bournemouth. We are just 5 points behind the noisy neighbors, like I said. And unlike the last few years, though, the patterns, the overall performances, the way we've been playing have been good. The underlying numbers have been decent, greatly improved. But the issue, again, comes down to the lack of quality, because we're making very silly errors. We have very little quality in depth, and it's just simple mistakes. The defending on corners, again, mentality, again, lack of quality. The simple errors in defending, Leach's poor clearance against Spurs, for instance, switching off for that ball over the top to Solanke. Little things like that. Bayern, like, it's the little errors that they're so hard to cut out, because it's only so much you can do. Short of just simply dropping a player, there's very little you can do to stop these errors from happening. You can't just tell a player, hey, stop doing that, and they're just going to do it. Anybody with kids, anyone who's worked in school, anybody who's worked with human beings before in their life will tell you it's not just as simple as just telling somebody what to do and it's going to happen. It doesn't work like that. Short of time on the training pitch or dropping the player altogether, there's little other options there. Or just praying that they're going to have a good day. But again, it's those errors and that lack of quality that have led to inconsistent results. I've been impressed and also frustrated with how quickly Amorim has improved us, especially in open play. The frustration is more directed at the players, though, because they just seem to turn it on when they want. But that's a different conversation altogether. We've already talked about that. So again, apart from a few individual errors, we do look a lot better in open play. I think, though, and you can see it from Amorim on the touchline, we do need to be a bit more direct. We are good at passing our way out of a press when we've got players that are good on the ball. We just need to get the ball forward a little quicker. We play a lot of sideways passes. The players, either they're not seeing the pass or they're just not playing the pass forward. We need to do a little better. Need to move the ball quicker, especially against Bournemouth. How do I think we should set up? You guys get your starting 11 in. Remember, we want to exploit that space that Bournemouth leave. We want to match the physicality, and we want players who are good enough to move the ball and move it well and move it quickly. I mean, you have to play Ahmad. It just is what it is. There's no other choice, right? I think it's a given at this point. Personally, I think that he's just probably the first name on our starting 11. Darko says in-game management and subs have been spot on. Yeah, he's doing a very good job with those subs. I mean, all 3 subs came on and scored against Spurs, and we probably could have gotten a result had we not left it so late, in my opinion. But it is what it is. And Danny agrees, Darko. So let me put up my starting 11, and I'll go through some of what you guys are saying here. So this is my starting 11. Ahmad has to play, like I said, but I've actually thrown him. I've went a little bit more attacking, and I've put him up in the 10 because he can still get wide. He can still drift wide in that 10 position depending on the situation. It just takes a little bit of the defensive work off of him, so he conserves some of that energy for the opposition half. And I like how well he gets into the box and how creative he can be, and so I want him up there. I said against Spurs, Højlund and Bruno were a little isolated, and then that final ball just wasn't good quality. And with Ahmad a little higher up the pitch, I think that we can improve that aspect of the attack. And I put Mezraoui at right wing back. So I think that I like Mezraoui as that wing back role. He sat a little deeper. We were kind of playing a back 5 a lot against Spurs in the first half, and then it opened up a bit. And when it opened up, he was a lot better. I think he's got ability in the ball. I think that he can, on that right side, he's shown that he can find Højlund. I mean, that beautiful goal that Højlund scored, I think it was against Victoria Pilsen, I want to say, came from Mezraoui putting the ball in the box. I just want that extra presence there. I could go either way on Malacia or Dalot or Anthony on the left wing back, but I opted for Malacia. I think that while I don't think he's quality to take us to where we want to be, I don't think it's something I'd want to plan on. He has looked very energetic. His balls in the box have been improving as well. He's just got to get back to fitness, honestly. I haven't seen yet if De Ligt was feeling better. I know De Ligt missed the Spurs match because he was sick, I heard, so I don't know yet what's going on there. Maguire could easily come in and start in place of De Ligt. If he does, though, Maguire's got to be careful because he is 1 yellow card away from suspension in this one, so he'll have to be careful. But Maguire could end up being a starter. Who knows, depending on how De Ligt is. I threw Mainu and Ugarte in midfield. I want some of that physicality that both of them offer. I want someone who's good on the ball like Mainu is. And then obviously you see Yoro and Licha. Licha has had a couple matches, but you guys know that I'm not the kind of guy who's going to take 1 or 2 bad performances and basically define a player by that. It's just not that. Licha's not been as good, I should say, since his injury. He did not have a good match against Spurs. It is what it is, but to say that he's a bad player because of it is a little bit of a stretch. I do think maybe we need to just keep an eye on that and maybe identify someone on the left-hand side. Like I said, Bashali's on a free, Yarrick on a free. Kouliarakis, I really like that Greek defender at Wolfsburg that I pointed out to you the other week. Maybe bring in someone to just challenge him a little bit more because it seems to be when he's fit, he's playing. So, Box, what are you saying? Onana, Mezraoui, De Ligt, Ugarte, Mainu, Ahmad, Fernandez, the definite starters. I mean, you have to, right? I mean, Bruno plays whenever he's fit. Box thinks City will sneak fourth. Yeah, let me go check in on what you guys are saying on that poll here. You guys still think City are going to finish higher. 60% of you think City will finish higher than United. We're not that far away. City just keep on falling. And while City is going like this, and United are kind of going, we're like this, and then we're like this, and then we're like this, and then we're like this again. It's just not consistent. So you guys are still banking City to edge us out at the end of the season. No, it's realistic. I'll take it. Box says, Onana, and you're starting Anthony. I have no problem starting Anthony. It was just kind of picking. I actually think if Anthony starts, I would like to see him maybe on the left wing back instead of the right. I think I want his left foot to find some of those passes. I think he's got a good pass. So again, it was a toss-up between, Dalot, Malacia, and Anthony on the left-hand side. I think I would rather have Mezraoui on the right. You want your De Ligt, Maguire, so you're not playing Licha this time. And Mezraoui, Ugarte, Ahmad, Fernandez, Højlund. Yeah, a lot of people are kind of putting the same kind of front three. I'm going to take this off the screen here so I can talk to you guys and see these things up higher. Goals for George. City's title defense is worse than United's under Moyes. Once the team loses the fear factor in the Premiership, all teams will be looking to break records against City as they smell blood. Yep. And if you guys caught my video the other day after the derby, I did sing a nice little jingle about Fradiola, the red-nosed gaffer. So you can go check that out if you want. I'm not going to sing it for you again because I am still getting over a little bit of sickness, so I'm very stuffed up, and my chest is very, because I'm so stuffed here, it's hard to breathe here, and so I keep feeling out of breath. This is why you see footballers throw the vapor rub on their chest. You guys always wonder, like, why is there a wet spot on that? Vapor rub to keep them breathing, so their nasal passages are clear, so they can breathe. Because if you can't breathe, if you're stuffed and you're running the equivalent of a 10K over 90 minutes, you're gonna die. Danny says, team is perfect, but I might start slabbing instead of Licha, play him at center. Yeah, it could go either way. I think, that and the left wing back are probably the positions that I toyed around with the most, but I ended up just because I do think at the end of the day, DeLitt is better than Maguire. But it just depends on, and I do think Licha is better. It just depends on, we're not going to know if this is a full-time thing for Licha or not for a while. I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm not going to try to extrapolate from a couple matches, but we'll see. I think that I like Leach a lot. Like, he's been one of our better players. Obviously, he's not doing as well as he did his first season. I think the injuries have a lot to do with it personally, because he was out for a very, very long time. And then, like I said, I've been critical for his kind of overzealous play style earlier this season under Ten Hag, especially. I think he was getting caught out of position a lot, but he has been decent. I do like the way he defends. I do like he's pretty good at defending the back post as well, but we'll see. I mean, it could be anything. So, and I think Maguire, he is on that yellow. He's one yellow away. Box says, I'd give Anthony a start at right wing back. He's worked well in cameos with Ama. Yeah. I mean, I think Anthony does have a place. I don't know if the best spot for him was one of those 10 roles, but again, it's one of those experiment things that Amorim wanted to do, and it didn't necessarily work out. I'm not going to necessarily blame Anthony. We know what we're getting with Anthony now. So Danny B says Rasmus needs to step up, show some consistency. I back him now. Yeah, Rasmus, I think, again, he's so young, and so I've said it before. I think it's harsh to hear people judge him comparing to other strikers. Like, the kid's still young. Like, judging him based on what we want from like someone who's 25, 26, 27 is a bit unfair. And so, and we can't sit here on one hand and say our wingers and whatnot aren't doing enough, and then, criticize Rasmus. Like, Rasmus also needs service, but he's also shown that he can, create for himself. He has good movement. His shot conversion speaks for itself. I mean, he was our top scorer last year as well. Rasmus is fine. He just needs some more time. And the thing is like, people keep forgetting, look at how good he is now, and anticipate what that could look like in the next couple of years if he continues to develop under good coaching. Like, Rasmus can be a Gyökeres with a few more years. I mean, think back to what Gyökeres was doing when he was Rasmus Højlund's age. He wasn't playing for Manchester United, that's for fuck sure. But I would like some consistency. I think a lot of it against Spurs had to do with the fact that the final ball was just not great. And whenever Rasmus did get the ball, it was literally just him by himself, or it was him and like Bruno. And we weren't getting forward enough. So Goals for George says, my team would be Onana, Licha, Maguire, Yoro, Casemiro. So you're throwing Casemiro. Yeah, I was surprised Casemiro didn't get a start against Spurs personally. Ugarte, Mazraoui, Malacia, Bruno, Ahmad, Xerxes. So you're starting Xerxes over Højlund. You gotta why no Højlund? Why Xerxes? Let me know what the thought is there. Bach says Dallo needs to sit a few games out. In my opinion, a bit overplayed, and it shows. Yeah, I think that's one big thing I've said. Not only I think Dallo is a little hesitant, is a little poor but I do think he's been overplayed. So I think he's just exhausted. I've said before I would give him a couple of weeks off just to go chill. And Danny agrees. Bach says we need to tell Rasmus that Bournemouth is a Europa League game. Yeah, right. The dude Rasmus is like the European competition player, man. He was like the top scorer in the group stage last year in the Champions League. So Rasmus did his job last season in the Champions League, as far as I'm concerned. He was carrying us through that competition, and he's got 2-2 Europa League matches. The last couple matches, like, he's fine. That's what I'm saying. Like, there's nothing wrong with Rasmus. It's the players around him that aren't doing good now. You're not going to make every single shot you take. It's just the way it is with strikers. So it is what it is. As Xerxes showed, Xerxes had a free header against Spurs and just didn't get a whole lot of power on it. And that was more down to poor technique than anything. And so it's little moments like that. When they start clicking, it will be fine. It's going to take some time. And Rasmus is young. So let's chill. I do agree that he does need to learn how to do a bit more. And right now, he doesn't have any other choice but to do it on the pitch because we don't get a whole lot of time to train. But he'll get there. He'll get there just fine. So, Danny says Rasmus is overthinking, just needs to settle in and relax. I think when he wants goals, when he's hungry for goals, when he's got the mentality, he is a warrior, especially in there. He's constantly trying to get on everything. You can see he's fighting with everybody for the balls. I think that again, and this is what you're going to see from coaches when they're working with strikers. A lot of them will tell you, like, you don't need to do as much. Like you're saying, he needs to settle down. He doesn't need to do it. The ball will come to you, hopefully. You don't need to do as much. Now, I like when strikers have movement. I like when they move defenders around. I like when there's a lot of movement there. It does cause problems, especially in the box. But as a striker, you shouldn't need to do as much as the other players around you. And I think that's not saying, like, you don't have to try. I'm just saying the ball will come to you. They're looking for you. Like, they're not just going to be just passing it aimlessly. Well, some of our players do, but they're looking for you. So the ball has no choice but to generally come to you. So just be patient, keep your movement, do the simple things right, and make sure that you're popping up in the right spot at the right time, which he's been doing. So we just need to stop playing him as a hold-up striker because that's not his game. Let him run. Just let him off the leash like a dog at the park, and that's all you got to do. What do you guys predict for the scores, though? What do you guys think this is going to end up looking like? I think this could be either a game of like low scores, or I think it's going to be like a 3-2 kind of a thing. My heart wants to go 3-2 United. My head kind of feels like it's going to be like a 1-1, but you guys let me know what your predictions are. I'm stuck between the head and the heart right now, but I do think this could be an interesting game nonetheless. It's really going to be a statement. We need 3 points. We have to put together 2 wins in the league at some point. Otherwise, we can't keep doing one step forward, one step back. It just can't happen. So, Goals for George says, Højlund was poor against Spurs, and his performance wants rotation so he can rest and observe from the bench. John Duran is younger than Erasmus, but is already way ahead in his development as a striker. I mean, John Duran's playing at Aston Villa, though, so I don't know if he's way ahead in his development. But I hear you. I hear what you're saying. John Duran's been playing a little longer, too, I think, in terms of first team. He was at MLS. But John Duran's doing really well. I think that nothing wrong with that. I think the fact that Villa, they have looked good, and John Duran is a big part of that. And so it is what it is. Like I said, I don't try to compare everything. I don't try to judge. It's just I worry about my team. I think Højlund is just fine. You don't have to agree, and that's fine. There's nothing. I'm not here to just because I have a ring light and a camera doesn't mean that I think I'm right. It's just my opinion. So, but I do appreciate that, and I've been critical Højlund in the past. There's some things that he needs to improve on, some aspects of his game that he needs to cut out. It is what it is, like any player. But do appreciate the reactive opinions. Goals for George. Danny B's predicting a 2-2 draw. We'll see. I need 3 points. I'm just getting frustrated with the inconsistency in the league. The league is so tight right now. It's one of those weird situations where the opportunities are there. The chances are there for us to start maybe clawing our way up the table, and we just keep dropping them. The back-to-back losses against Forest and Arsenal really frustrated me. The City match obviously was a big, big win, but we need to show that we can put together some sort of consistency, that some sort of momentum, that we can use one of these wins as a platform, like a foundation to build upon. And we just haven't shown that yet. So, and I would have liked us to have been qualified for the next round of the Europa League by now. So maybe we could rotate a little bit more in that competition as well. But Goals for George says 3-1. 3-1 United or 3-1 Bournemouth. Those are 2 very different scores. But I don't know yet what my heart or my head are going to win. My head says 1-1. My heart says 3-2 United, but I could flip a coin right now and go either way. But I just want the win. I don't know if I'm guaranteed the win because Bournemouth are doing pretty well right now. But maybe their 1-1 draw against West Ham was a bit of a blip. Maybe it was a sign that teams are figuring them out. I don't know, but we need to do something. So you guys let me know what you think. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new. I will be back maybe Sunday night with the match reaction. I'm trying to decide it's really going to depend on how I feel, because I start feeling good and then I start doing a little too much and then I just get winded. I get tired and I end up falling asleep for like an hour. So I'll probably fall asleep after this and go pick up watching some more games. But in any case, thank you guys for stopping by. I do appreciate it. If you weren't able to catch the live, get your predictions, get your thoughts in the comments. I will respond to them. Neil Driscoll, if you're watching, you did win the giveaway. So get at me at unitedstatesofunited@gmail.com, and I will get that shirt popped in the post. Probably not going to get there before Christmas, but it is what it is. In any case, I'll see you guys on the next one. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday and take some time to laugh at Man City a little bit because it's becoming kind of a spectator sport now. But thank you guys. I'll see you guys on the next one.